guys, and welcome to Sounds Like NYC episode 57. Our next guest cheated a little bit. He's a bilingual hip hop artist from and performer originally from New York City, but he moved to Oaxaca, Mexico in 2019, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, having no friends and or family in a new city is definitely daunting, especially for an artist. Since the age of 5, he's been interested in art, but didn't really see music as a passion until age 24. Right now, he uses his music to tell stories about intimacy and relationships. You can find him on Instagram at Smiley. No, really. Please welcome Smiley Rojas-Nunez.
For having me.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So how is it in Mexico right now?
Well, right now I'm on the Oaxacan coast. I'm in a small beach town called Mazunte. And to be honest with you, it's like living in the pre-COVID times, which is why I'm here. I actually got to perform live last night, which was a very beautiful thing.
Mhm.
It's a small town. There's like less than 3,000 people here. And COVID really hasn't affected this place other than the fact that not a lot of tourists are coming here. So there's that part of it. But yeah, I'm honestly, I'm in a bubble.
Hmm. I mean, listen, I think that's the best thing about this whole COVID thing. Less tourists everywhere.
Yep.
So New York City is spectacular right now. I always wanted to see it on the train. I like that. So, what do you think about Oaxaca? Drew you in as an artist.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, I was born and raised and lived most of my life in New York. And when I started writing music in 2017, and I realized that I wanted to go deeper into it, I kind of just got this feeling that in order for me to be able to focus on this, and by this I mean music, I was gonna have to leave New York because there was all these patterns and like habits that I was used to living in because I was born there, I was raised there, I was programmed to function a certain way there.
Right.
And so I decided I wanted to move to Latin America because I'm a native Spanish speaker and I just wanted to be around more Latinos. And then I actually thought I was going to move to Mexico City because I didn't know anything about Mexico, and all my friends were like, yo, Mexico City, that's where it's at, that's where the artists are. And but when I went to visit in 2018, I didn't like it because it was too much like New York. And what I mean by that, it was like another big, massive city.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to be in a big, massive city anymore. And I was just fortunate that I was like couch surfing at a woman's house, and she's Oaxaqueña. And she saw me kind of moping around her apartment, and she's like, what are you looking for? And I was like, I'm looking for 3 things: a small place, like, where I can walk most places, a place there's like appreciation for art, even if it's music, and a place where it's sunny every day. And she was like, oh, just move to Oaxaca. And that's how I decided to move here, like on a whim. Never visited, didn't know anybody here. I just went back to New York from Mexico. I finished 2018 in New York, and then in January of 2019, I moved here without ever visiting.
Wow,
She
that
could have just
takes.
lied to you. You could just lied, and then you just stranded over there.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah.
She could have lied to me, but I was like, I don't know. Sometimes in life, certain people get put in your path, and they like help to light that tunnel.
Yeah.
So she
So,
just
were you just feeling kind of like a general, I guess, fatigue over like, New York City, over kind of like the hustle and the grind? Because I definitely relate to you on that end. Like, you know, compared to, uh, compared to where you are now, yeah, New York City is cold, it's dirty, and it's definitely harder, very like hard to live in.
you're saying like that's a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. It's terrible. Did you hear the MTA officially made pooping on the subway illegal?
Damn. So
Uh,
where am I gonna poop now?
I don't know, but no.
where you gonna take those dumps?
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, speaking of like where you are now, sorry, I can't pronounce the name, but
Masunte.
Masunte. Okay. So how's like the music culture and the music scene over there compared to like New York City?
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful thing down here in Masunte. It's a small beach town, and there's a lot of like jams. So what that means is that like a bunch of musicians will get together and then they'll all just start playing. Like it's a lot of live instrumentation. My favorite thing, like to watch musicians perform live is like what I live for, and that's
Mhm.
like what I want to be a part of. So I've met like a handful of people here who who perform music, and it like has this beachy vibe and a lot of positivity because also in Masunte there's a lot of people who do like yoga, meditation, spiritual work.
It's
So
like Soto, but
you've got this combination of people coming here to like connect deeper with themselves because they're surrounded by this beautiful nature, and then that also attracts a certain kind of musician and a certain kind of music. So it's also been influencing my music because I'm a lyricist, and so I've been thinking more about the nature that I'm surrounded by, the positive vibes that I'm surrounded by, and I'm like looking to incorporate that into my music. You know, when you
Mhm.
introduced me, you mentioned how, you know, like there's like a lot of themes about love and stuff like that and relationships in my music. And that's how it started out. But since living here for the last 2 years, I've expanded what I'm speaking about in my music. And being here in Masunta has definitely helped that. And just connecting with people who are like just down to pull out a guitar and start playing in the middle of the street, and then someone will come with some shakers, and then someone else will come maybe like with a hang drum or something like that, like a tambourine. Like it's a beautiful collection of energy.
So how do you connect with artists in a new city? Like how do you network?
And in this particular context, because Masunte is so small, like I said, there's like less than 3,000 people here. Like, I mean, I have the kind of personality where I go up and I say hi to people.
Hmm.
And I think that's been one of the most beautiful things about living in Mexico. That I think my absolute favorite part about Mexico and the Mexican culture is that you walk by people and everybody says good morning, good afternoon, good night. You know, so, you know, if you're in New York and you're on the subway, you can't just like everybody's in their headphones, everybody's in their phone, everybody's going
yeah,
somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah. I
And here
feel
in Mexico, it hasn't been like
yeah. Yeah, because like I definitely understand what you mean, but I'm like such a New Yorker that I feel if you know somebody just like approaches me or just like walks by and says like hi and whatnot, I
Like,
I
oh, you're
expect that they
stealing
want
me.
something from me. Yeah,
They're gonna
like they're
steal.
trying to like size me up or
Yeah.
something like that. So
that.
like
Yeah.
it must be so nice living in a place where you just have like a common trust for everybody around you.
Yeah, man. Like being able to say, I don't know, I think that's been like the biggest change in my life personally. Like being able to say good morning to everyone I see when I walk outside and have them not think that I'm crazy is beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know how one would get to that feeling. I'm just like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
So like speaking of your music and kind of like the live instrumentation that's involved in it, I find that very fascinating because I for one find that I love kind of like hip hop and rap with like a live band because you know when you know artists like Kendrick or whatnot when they
Mhm.
perform live they're performing with a live band and it's
Yep.
really cool with you know your music with your like actual recordings how that kind of like live instrumentation plays into it and I definitely appreciate you kind of like you know doing it from the offset because I wish more you know rappers and whatnot would just do albums just like studio albums with like
Mm.
actual live instrumentation because when they do it at, in like you know concerts and stuff like that it sounds so good and I just want more you know
why
studio
do you think
recordings
people
like
don't do
that.
it? Why do you think more rappers don't do that?
I mean, I think maybe it has to do with the culture of working with producers and like just getting, like maybe like fire beats, like you get some trap beat, you get any kind of beat, and it sounds so good because the production nowadays is so beautiful.
Right.
But I also think it has to do with like your level for appreciation for live music and instruments. Like for me personally, it's just a personal thing that I love live instruments. So I remember last year, 2019, I went to my first music networking conference in New York, the Latin American Alternative Music Conference. And that was my first time being in a setting where it was like, this is not like a hobby. This is like something that you do professionally. And everybody there was like a very serious individual. So that conference, when I returned to Oaxaca after attending that conference, it had like put a new sense of fire inside of me. And I was like, yo, what are my goals and what is it that I want to do? And then I remembered, I was like, yo, you've always wanted to play with a live band. Um, so I went out and I found a band. And then I gave these guys my music, just the recordings. And then they're like so talented that they were able to recreate it with their instruments.
Oh man, that's
So
great.
then last year I did 3 performances, including my first festival with a live band. And yeah, it's kind of like, when you go to a concert, you kind of see the hierarchy in a sense. Like I've been to Kendrick's concert with the whole TDE, and it's like the first set of guys just have the backing tracks.
Hmm.
And then when it gets to Schoolboy Q and Kendrick Lamar, they have the bands. Well, that takes a lot more effort, a lot more coordination, more money, it's a bigger investment. So that's actually why more artists don't do it, because you don't want to be limited by the other people around you. You don't want to be dependent on other people around you. But if you find the right people and you just strive for it, like it's a beautiful thing. It's a
Do you think
beautiful
it's worth the
thing.
investment?
Huh?
Do you think it's worth the investment?
For me, yes, 100%, because I feel like my job as an artist is to create an atmosphere where people can feel a lot of different things. Whatever the music causes to come up for you, like that happens. And I have just noticed that when I play with a live band versus when I perform solo, like I have more power to create an atmosphere and a feeling. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome.
Hmm.
So funny enough, we were actually like we're researching you a little bit, and we came across this story where you were saying like you think people are full of shit.
Yeah, so like, what's up with that? Like,
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
very interesting.
That's so
Right.
funny. And you just caught my feelings in the last 24 hours. No, man. I mean, I don't know. Like, so the reason why I'm here at this beach is because I've been following my intuition and following what my insides tell me. I don't know. My last 10 years since I went to college there've been a series of transformations. Like I remembered I majored in accounting, but then coming out of undergrad, I didn't work in accounting. I went to go be a volunteer in Nicaragua as an entrepreneurship teacher. And it was and that's just because I was like, yo, you don't like accounting. So why would you spend any more time doing that? Then I came back from Nicaragua to New York and I worked at a nonprofit and I really enjoyed it and I was comfortable. I was making good money. I liked my coworkers. But then I wrote my first song and I was like, yo, like music, like I think you need to pursue this even though it's like difficult and daunting.
Mhm.
And also like I wanted to give up alcohol for some time. I wanted to give up eating meat for some time. And these were just things that were like inside of me. And then I just decided to listen to them. So when I say like I think a lot of people are full of shit, it's just that I think that a lot of people don't take the time to ask themselves like, am I comfortable where I am right now? But really, it's like, am I happy with who I am and what I'm doing right now?
Mm.
Because that's a very scary question. You might be comfortable, but not necessarily happy. So You know, I think people move around. I think people are full of shit. They don't ask themselves these questions and they like live a lie.
See?
That's very profound. Yeah.
No, we saw that, and I was like, well, I agree with you, but I want to see like what your 2 cents are on the subject. That's a very New York sentiment, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
You can
Yeah.
take the boy out of New York. Can never take the New York out of the boy.
And it's not a bad thing. It's just that I feel like people, we are not even conditioned to ask ourselves these questions, you know, like in the United States especially, it's like, oh, you're gonna you're gonna go to like a prestigious college, you're gonna get some job, you're gonna work as a consultant or something of that nature. And you're just doing these things because you're told that they're the thing that you're supposed to do. Then you're gonna buy a house, you're gonna get into real estate, blah blah blah. But you're just kind of following a path that has been laid out for you. And a lot of people don't ask themselves certain questions. And I think that's the beautiful thing about being an artist or being surrounded by artists. It's kind of like you're trying to break out of that box in a way.
Mhm.
Gotcha. I mean, I think right now might be a good sort of time to maybe plug a song of his, um, so listeners can get a better idea of like his music. What song do you want us to plug in, Smiley?
Yeah, I would love for you guys to plug in the song called Estado Elevado. I made this song in collaboration with a Oaxacan artist named Oswiner.
Hmm.
It's my first collaboration with an artist here in Mexico. I rap in both English and Spanish on this track. And there's a music video out for it on
Yeah,
YouTube.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out in August, I
Yeah.
think.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, of course.
So play it.
El mundo se desploma pero yo rimando. Ellos me atacan, yo sigo cantando. Nace la envidia ahora que estoy volando. Sueños del ayer ahora se están logrando. El mundo se desploma pero yo rimando. Ellos me atacan, yo sigo cantando. Nace la envidia ahora que estoy volando. Sueños del ayer ahora se están logrando. Yeah, 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 yeah. ¿Cómo están? Aquí estoy con el hecho que no voy a parar. Aquí estoy con el hecho que ya voy a explotar.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sounds Like NYC. And you would have just heard
Can't even
the
pronounce it.
latest sing. Huh?
You can't even pronounce it.
Pronounce what?
What's it called?
Is that I can't pronounce it? It's just that I just forgot what it's called. But anyway, welcome back, Smiley, to the well, not welcome back, but welcome back everybody to the podcast. And you just saw David chastise me, but yeah. So could you explain kind of like the background of that song and just how you collaborated with what's his name again? Sorry, I forgot.
Oswiner with
Yeah.
Oswiner.
So yeah, could you just like talk about the background of that song and like how it came to be?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty dope story, and one of my other favorite things about Mexico, outside of being able to say good morning to everyone, is Oaxaca being a small city. People are just very open and willing to collaborating and to making time for you. And what I mean by that is like in New York, if we wanted to hang out, we might be like, yo, okay, next Friday, a week from today, are you free? But here in Oaxaca, it'll be like, for example, I wanted to learn how to cook. And when I first moved here, I went to a restaurant. I had some good tacos. I was talking to the chef. I was like, I want to learn how to cook. And then 3 days later, I was taking a lesson from her.
Wow.
So with this track, Estado Elevado, what ended up happening is that there was an artist whose name is Boca Floja. And he's a rapper who's pretty well known. He's been rapping for over 20 years now. He actually, I think now resides in the Bronx. And he came to Oaxaca, and I attended like a pre-event of his because someone had told me, yo, you should try to connect with that man if he's ever, in the same city as you. And when I was there, all the people who came to the pre-event were like rappers, local rappers. And everybody was playing their music as he was arriving. And I was like, yeah, I'm a rapper. I'll play some of my stuff. So then the folks there, like, they gave me props on the music, and then we went to the performance. And all of these local rappers were the openers. And then one of them asked me, was like, yo, are you gonna perform? I was like, I'm not on the, I'm not supposed to perform. And he's like, just ask the DJ. If you got your backing tracks, just pass it to the DJ. And I got to perform that night. And then there was actually, I'm not trying to make this story too long, but there was six openers. I was one of them, and they asked the crowd to vote for your favorite opener so that the opener could perform one more track before Boca Floja came on. And they voted for me. I got the loudest applause. And the wild thing is that because I wasn't on the list of openers, the DJ told me, he's like, you have to perform first. I have to open it up for everybody. And so I got the loudest applause after the six performers. And when I performed, the room was half filled. So the people just vibed. The people who did get to see me vibed out so much that they were like, we want to hear this guy again. I'm not gonna lie, I did feel like a gentrifier. But everybody, all the other openers were local. So that experience happened. Oswiener was one of the openers, and I was just doing my networking thing. I was like, yo, I would love to collaborate. Like I just, I'm humble in that way. Like if you're trying to create something, like I'm down. Like, and he was trying to create something. So he actually, in January of this year, he sent me the beat with the chorus already written and his verse written. And he's like, just throw on a verse. And what I'm talking about in the song, En Estado Elevado, and I'm flipping between Spanish and English, is just basically how, I'm saying how it doesn't matter what any of the negativity or any of the people who are around you who don't believe in you say. Like, ignore them, keep on keeping on, keep on grinding, appreciate the people who do love you, and with that, you will find success. That's the message of my verse. That's the message of the chorus. That's the message of that song.
How is it different doing hip hop in English versus Spanish? Like, do you think there's anything, like, is there anything you think about consciously when you're mixing both languages in the song?
For me, it's actually a way to cheat. And what I mean by that is that I'll be writing, and I usually start in English. But I've been getting more into studying to Spanish. But I'll usually start, whether it's in English or Spanish, I'll start, and then I'll kind of run out of something to say. And then it's like I'm accessing a different part of my brain by going into English or by going into Spanish. So it kind of gives me room to create. It's like, it gives me it's like padding for me. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm stuck. Like, I've written 8 bars. Where do I go from here? And then like, well, what would I say about this topic if I was saying it in English? Or what would I say about this topic if I was saying it in Spanish? And then it like opens up a whole new world.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, like, I guess the reason why I'm asking that is because with Spanish, with Spanish, just a language in itself, it's more like, I feel at least it's more like staccato, like estado versus just state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would feel like that would sort of change the dynamic of the music itself.
Yeah, it does change the dynamic of the music, and this has been a beautiful thing about me keeping on this path of rapping, is that, like, if you hear my first EP, which is titled Her Touch, and then you hear Estado Elevado, which was written 2 years after that EP, like, you can see that my flow is a bit different. I'm playing more with my voice. I'm playing more with like the different sounds. I'm accessing different sounds. So, yeah, I mean, when I rap in Spanish, it allows me to access a different part of like my vocal range. And the same thing with English. I've had people tell me like, oh, you should only rap in Spanish, or you should only rap in English. And for me, it's like, I find that there are beautiful things about both of the languages that I can only do in that language. So that's why I love mixing them both.
Awesome. And if you see, David has gone to do some business. So you just have me for now. But yeah, that's great. I think yeah, it's so cool kind of like being able to, write and perform music in, two different languages and stuff like that. And I do something similar in terms of like lyric writing between, English and Japanese. So I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Japanese?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What?
Yeah, but thank you. No, but I'm not like good at it. I'm not like good at it, or anything like that. But I definitely understand kind of like kind of your point of view and stuff like that. And like before we end the interview, would you just like talk about kind of like the things that you like miss about New York City, if you know anything at all, or
LOL. Well, I'm really big into dance,
uh,
Latin partner dances, and there's a particular dance. It's called Forró. It's a Brazilian partner dance. It's like if salsa and bachata had a baby.
ooh, interesting. That
Uh,
sounds hard.
and
Yeah.
I love that dance. And I was really in the Forró community, this little Brazilian community. I was really a part of it while I lived in New York. So I definitely miss that. I miss dancing.
Hmm.
um yeah, man, so that's like my biggest thing that I miss about New York, this community that's there. And that's the beautiful thing about New York. I studied abroad in Brazil in 2014. That's where I learned about this dance, and that's where I learned how to speak Portuguese.
Ooh,
So watch out, because
interesting.
there are some Portuguese bars coming in some of these songs soon.
Ooh, yeah.
And I went back to New York, and this little obscure dance, which is not the biggest or most popular dance in Brazil, I found it in New York. So that's the beautiful thing about New York, man. You travel, if you have an opportunity to leave New York or leave the United States and go to a different country and experience something, it's very likely that if you get a chance to return to New York, you're gonna be able to find a little bit of that in New York.
Dude, I didn't even know there was like, I mean, it's kind of like obvious, but it's like very cool hearing about kind of like, a certain type of like, you know, dance community like that, because you never think about that when you like think about New York City. Like, most people think about music and fashion, but I guess that's
Mm,
dance is also like a very important part of the culture over here. So like thank you for kind of like telling me about that. And
for sure.
yeah, dude, it's been awesome talking to you. And like I said before, I really appreciate like the way that you like build your music, and I'm definitely looking forward to whatever you're gonna make next. So like thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you both for having me. Thank you for this opportunity to like reach a wider audience. That's been one of the biggest challenges for me. Like I love the process of creating, but then the process of marketing myself has been a challenge.
Mhm.
So I'm super humbled that you would have me on your platform, that we could speak today. If it's okay, I'm just gonna plug myself.
Yeah,
My
yeah, do.
Instagram is Smiley No Really. That's also how you find me on Facebook and any platform. And then my website is SmileyRojasNunez.com, because that is my full government is my artist name.
Dude, that's great. Yeah. And like your website is also kind of like a cut above the rest. Like you don't see many, many like,
Mm,
artists these days, or like many artists like you that are starting to come up and stuff like that, kind of like
mhm.
have like a really good website. But dude, you did a fantastic job on that on that website.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I
of course.
appreciate it.
Of course. Awesome. So thank you again everybody for watching and listening to this episode of Sounds Like NYC. And see you next time.
All right. Peace out. Much
Yeah.
love from Mexico.